Hey, what's going on, people? Once again, this is your boy DeMar Playboy Dukes doing my thing as only I know how. Um, I know I'm a bit late on this, okay, but this is pretty much my personal opinion when it comes to Anime Expo 2022. Now, I know a lot of other people have already uploaded their videos, whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube, things of that nature. I honestly have not watched any of them. Um, I didn't want anything that they said to kind of influence my personal opinion and reaction to the things that took place over the course of the 4 days for Anime Expo. So I decided to go into this with just my mindset, my experience, no external influences whatsoever. So this is going to be a pure response video as far as my personal opinion, as far as for Anime Expo is concerned. So that's pretty much the premise of where we're coming from. So let's get into it. So got my notes right here. So for those of you who don't know, we're about roughly 6 days out from Anime Expo 2022. Took place July 1st through the 4th. Which for those of you who happen to have attended, I hope you guys had a good time. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. I know they were also streaming on Anime Expo Lite, so for those of you who took advantage of those particular types of content, I hope you enjoyed what you happen to have been viewing as well. Um, so, some of the things when it comes to Anime Expo, um, I'll just go as far as the panels. There was way too many panels, in my personal opinion. Um, on day one alone, now, granted, a lot of these panels and venues did not take place physically within the Los Angeles Convention Center. Some of them took place in Regal Theaters. Others took place at the Novo, things of that nature. So it's not like everything was physically at this venue. But that aside, there was too much taking place there. There were a total of about 85 events, panels that took place on day one. On day two, there was about 81 panels. Day three was 83, and day four was around 32. Okay. Now, the thing is, um, I was able to, over the course of the 4 days, I was able to make it to about roughly 12 to 16 panels I got into. For some of you, that might be impressive. For others, you might be like, is that all you did? Over the course of the 4 days. But just based off the ones that I've gone to, um, realistically speaking, some of those panels really didn't need to take place. They didn't need to be there. Now, I'm not going to say which panel specifically out of respect for the people hosting it, um, because nonetheless, they put a lot of hard work and effort into it. So, the last thing I want to do is kind of, drag them in the dirt as far as for that. But it's just with the type of stuff that they were presenting, I don't think it needed to be done in that kind of capacity as far as for that. That's just, again, my personal opinion. Um, yeah, they definitely could have scaled a lot of those down, but I do get it. That I know that the main premise was to try to involve as many different aspects and events as possible, because obviously with so many people in that building, you really want to have different things taking place throughout the building just to spread all of those crowds out. So one place isn't as overly crowded as another. So I totally get it. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, though, sometimes more doesn't necessarily mean better. You could have gotten more with less. Um, but I did enjoy the majority of the panels that I went to. So it was still a fun experience nonetheless. Definitely met some really cool people, met some good friends. So I definitely appreciate that. Um, but overall, I just think that they definitely could have done much less with that. And I feel like um, some of those things, some of the rooms could have been used for other purposes, which I'll get into that as we get further down the line on my notes here. But that was pretty much the main thing. One of the things that when it comes to Anime Expo is the fact that if you are a person who's really big into panels, you really are going to have to sacrifice one panel in order to take advantage of going to another. So that's kind of the give and take when it comes to that kind of thing. So it sucks, but that's just the way the format is. I mean, there's a lot taking place there. Um, but overall, um, I'm glad it's nice to have that kind of stuff out, to have all these different types of topics and updates on some of your favorite brands or some of your favorite um, um, anime spokesmen, that kind of thing. Rather, you happen to be into voice actors or you just into animated music videos or catching up some of the nuances or celebrations. I know there were a lot of well, not a lot, but there was quite a few celebration events that were taking place. I know there was one for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there was one for Macross, and there was one for Ultraman. So I know that. Oh, and also Sword Art Online, which sadly that panel I couldn't get into. But there was quite a few people that were celebrating quite a long lineage of their show and just the lore of where it started to where it has become at this stage of the game. But yeah, so that's pretty much the premise as far as for that. So yeah, I feel like some of those definitely could have been reduced down, and uh, some of them really didn't need to be there. They could have been showcased in a whole nother capacity, maybe just strictly on Anime Expo Lite. But then again, I know a lot of the hosts and panelists, they really want to have that physical interaction because I know a lot of them want to have that physical connection to bounce off the people and the energy. So I totally get that. But that's pretty much my premise as far as when it comes to the panels. Um, one of the one of the groups that was there was Hypeland. They had a nice little kind of like a game festival going on where you had to have these tickets that has eight items, eight things that you had to punch. And once you got all eight punched by playing the variety of games they had available, you take it to the main booth towards the back, and you can either get yourself, you can make your own custom tie dye shirt, or you get a custom bag that was coming off the presses. So that's always a cool thing. I like those kinds of things. Me myself, I ended up taking advantage of getting two tie dye shirts because I already knew I collect enough bags as it is, so I really didn't need any more. But I just decided to go for the, even though I'm not a tie dye guy, but it's just the fact, hey, it's anime, why not? So I went and got myself two tie dye shirts, which I revealed those in my unboxing video on my channel, which I posted a couple days back. So if you guys want to check that out, more than welcome. Um, Now, the downside as far as when it came to Hypeland, um, one of the games in particular revolved around the dart throwing game. I really don't think that game needed to be there. I think it really should have been replaced with something else. Um, the biggest downside about that particular game is the simple fact that once a certain number of balloons were popped, I know the staff was, I guess you could say, kind of sort of working quickly, but not really. But it took way too long to get everything set up again for more players to take part in it. And with that much time being wasted, it's like, again, there's a lot of other stuff that's taking place. So the main premise of, especially with all these tickets that need to get punched, you really want to try to get people in and out as quickly as possible. It keeps the flow going. It makes the whole atmosphere much more enjoyable, and people know that, especially given they're standing in the hot sun, they know it makes it less uncomfortable while you're waiting in line because you know the lines are going to be moving quickly. That's one of the reasons why I like the sandbag throwing and the ball where you knock over the cans. Those were really quick because you just pick up the can, set it back up, give the person the balls, and let them go at it. They were very quick and to the point. So hopefully, come next year, I definitely hope that they replace that one out, unless they can come up with a better system to where they can get the balloons set up more quickly. But it just took way too long, way too long. And it's not really fair to people to wait in that hot sun for it. It felt like it felt like it took them almost 10, 15 minutes just to get it set up almost each and every single time. And that's a lot of time wasting, especially when there's more people flooding in who want to try out the game. The lines are going to get longer. They're going to start spreading all over the place, and it just leads to chaos. So I hope that they come up with another type of game that won't be so tedious to try to reset back up for more players to take part in it. So that was pretty much my only gripe when it came to Hypeland. But other than that, I loved it. Loved the music. The stage was set up real nicely. The DJs were doing their thing. They had a bunch of different stuff going on. They had like these cartoon drawers, which they were really awesome. Um, but yeah, for the most part, most of the games were still really fun to play. That fishing game, oh my god, that thing was hard. I was expecting to get something cool, but I couldn't do it. But that was just me, you know. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, the other thing that was a little bit annoying was the hanging drape across the top of the booths. I'm sorry, but they were way too low. They were way too low. Some of the games where it required you to throw things higher or to try to aim for a higher target, those drapes made it very difficult to be able to aim at it without having that obstructing their view and obstructing the path of what they were throwing. So they either needed to remove it altogether or they need to the raise the tenting up so that it's not obstructing, or probably use smaller decal drapes, something. But some of those, they were hanging down way too low, and it made it a little annoying to try to play the game. That was pretty much the last little gripe that I had as far as for that. But other than that, I still had a fun time, and hats off to Hype Land, kudos. Moving on, the lines for the panels were very unorganized. I really did not like it. The fact that, especially depending on what panel it was, like for example, Sword Art Online 10th anniversary. Premium members, they can line up right outside the door, but everybody else, general admissions, had to go out and around the building, waiting this huge line just to be brought back into the building and go in through the exact same doors. Did not like that. There's definitely more efficient ways that they really should have gone about it. One of the things when it comes to the the layout and the schematic, when it comes to the rooms throughout the convention center, you usually have they should already know what the max capacity of seats are available for every single panel before the panel starts. So just taking that into consideration, I don't know if they should have used physical tickets and had some kind of I don't know, some kind of special person who stood in a particular area of the event at a particular time, and they handed out the tickets and say, here you go. So that way, once those tickets run out, sorry, that's it. If you got a ticket, you know you're guaranteed to get in. Or another thing that I was thinking they could possibly do is they should have utilized, this is where they really could have utilized the AX app. I think it needs more functionality when it comes to that. I figure when it comes to the panels, they should utilize digital tickets. Kind of like how when you're when you're buying tickets for a movie that you want to go see at like Regal Theaters or something, or AMC, and it gives you a picture diagram or it shows you the physical number of seats available. So you'll know exactly where you can sit, or at the very least, you know how many seats are available. So depending on how many you knew, you had to act quickly. It's not something you could just sit on. I think having something like that on the app to where you can click a button and say, yes, I want to take place in this. And then you put in the queue and then say, okay, you're locked in, your ticket's good. So all you have to do is go in, show it on your app. I requested a ticket. I got confirmed. Here's my confirmation. Thank you. I'm going inside. And that's all there is to it. But the fact that they had so many people line up outside, and then they're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then when they're finally letting people into the building, like you have people who have been waiting there for probably like 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. All of a sudden, guy comes out, sorry guys, there's no more seats available. We apologize for the inconvenience, but there are no more seats. Sorry. So now all that waiting that they just did was absolutely for naught. It was totally pointless. And that is not right. That's not right at all. This is why I say there should have been either physical tickets given out, or there should have been a special digital ticket that you can click on to submit your to submit a request for a digital ticket to be confirmed. So that way nobody has to worry about waiting needlessly. Because at the very least, yeah, it's disappointing if you don't get in, but at the very least, it's not a hard blow to the gut because you're not wasting time sitting in a line thinking you're going to get into something where you also could have been potentially doing something else if you knew you couldn't get in. You can say, okay, well, I could have at least went to this panel since now I've been waiting all this time and it's already 15 minutes into the panel that already started. So I think that kind of system should be put in place, especially when it comes to big panels like that. And let's face it, these guys know these panels are huge, especially when it's an anniversary panel. You know it's going to be packed to the brim. So those are just the kind of things that I wish they would try to utilize just to add more organization and reduce the amount of people waiting in lines, because there's no point in having people waiting the line if it's not going to benefit them in the slightest. All they ended up doing was standing around and sitting heat. The only thing that they ended up getting in return is pretty much sweating their balls off. Or if you're not a girl, I mean, if you're not a guy, then you're sweating. But yeah, so that's pretty much the premise when it comes to that. So I definitely feel like there definitely should be better systems put in place so that there's more structure when it comes to getting tickets or just getting into panels whatsoever. Some panels aren't all that big, so you can get in regardless. That's fine. But when it comes to ones that are big, they should definitely utilize more of a system. And once again, I think that's where the Anime Expo app probably could have really done its justice when it came to that. Um, that's just my thing when it comes to that. Speaking of lines, I'm pretty sure everybody else has already mentioned this. The lines outside at the start to get into the building, once again, was chaotic. It was too many lines. They were all over the place. Some people were getting directed to lines that weren't even where they were supposed to be. So they're over here waiting 25, 30 minutes in a line that they're not even supposed to be in. It was way too chaotic. Um, for the most part, the main majority of the lines to get into the building, which another thing too is they should have opened more doors. They really should have opened more doors. But the main majority of all of the lines that were set up are all the way around the front perimeter of the building. They all should have been badge and wristband ready. All those should have been right there. Um, as far as for your getting your props inspected, okay, that one, it has a booth off to itself. That's fine. As far as for the wristbands should stay over at, I think it was Church Avenue or wherever it was. Leave that over there. Or if you need, or if it can't stay there, then at the very least, it should be in the booth, probably next to the cosplay prop inspection booth, and just have them both right there. Or if they wanted to, there's usually a multitude of booths that are made for event assistance. You could have used those to try to help pass out the wristbands when it came to that. Um, but it definitely should have been much more organized if they had had more doors open. And the main majority of lines to say, okay, look, if you're trying to get a wristband for your COVID, you go to these assistance lines over here. It's going to be those 4 or 5 booths that they have set up. That's where you get those. If you have cosplay props, go straight to the cosplay props booth. And all the other lines, if you've got your badge and you've got your wristband, go in any line that you want. Where more doors are open, just find a line and get in, and we'll be letting everybody in shortly. Whatever. That's how they should have at least done it, realistically speaking. Um, Speaking of which, other than more doors, they really need to take advantage of advertising the multiple ways of actually getting into the convention center. Because the thing about it is, there were there were places where you can get into the area without having to wait into a big line. and it's still open to anybody can go through. It's not like it's only made for like, I know they have certain entrances where it's only made for exhibitors and like let's say maybe like news and stuff like that, or press. But there were lines like in the back in the parking garage and stuff like that, where that's where I was going into all this every single time, because I wasn't gonna wait in those long lines, and I discovered this just out of sheer coincidence, and that's the line I went into. And every single time I went over there, I was just going straight through. There was never a line. It was people just going in there scatteringly, you know. So that's just what I mean. It's like if they would advertise and showcase more openings of where people can get in, especially when people are parking all over the place, then having more advertisement and directions and say, hey, since you guys, I know you guys are parked way over there. If you want, you don't have to walk all the way to the front of the building. Just go straight over here and you can get in from these lines over here. There's next to no wait. Done deal. You know, they need to advertise more openings when it comes to getting into the building. This makes the process a lot faster and a lot smoother. And once again, people are parking all over the place. So the easiest and quickest way they can access the building is much more beneficial than having them walk all the way around the building or across the street to the front of the building and sit in a huge line. What else? The manga cafes. Personally, one is not enough. I think at the very least there should be 2 or 3 manga cafes, because every single time I tried to get into a manga cafe, that line was exponentially long, and obviously I wasn't gonna wait in a long line just to sit in the lounge and read some manga, as much as I really wanted to. But there was just too much other stuff going on, and there was plenty of other things that I could do that was still just as exciting to do. But yeah, when it comes to the manga cafes or the manga lounge, I think it is. I don't know why I call them cafe. Manga lounge, my fault. Um, there definitely needs to be at least 2 or 3 of those. You can even have them all right next together, or have them in different areas of the building. Like have one, like maybe 1 or 2 in the South Hall and one in the West Hall, or however you want to do it. But there definitely should be more than just one, especially because of the fact of a lot of people go there just to be in a quiet area. They just want to, read some new material, get themselves involved in a new title, and having to wait in a long line. That's not really, that's, you gotta think efficient when it comes to that. So I really think they should have more manga lounges when it comes to that, so more people can access it, um, and more people can be exposed to new titles and stuff like that. And to have more venues where you can just get to a quiet area, because sometimes being around all those people and all that loud noise, sometimes it definitely makes for a nice escape, um, minus certain areas where they have kind of like the quiet rooms. But yeah, I definitely think they need more of those. So hopefully that'll be coming next year. But me personally, I think they definitely need more than one. Um, Now, when it comes to the exhibit hall, for the exhibit hall, realistically speaking, there's way too much going on up there. There's just too many booths, and there's just way it's just way too chaotic. Once again, I know they want to cram as much stuff in as possible. I know they really wanted to up themselves because, I mean, let's face it, we haven't been back live in 2 years. They really wanted to make a spectacle of it. I know vendors really wanted to get out and really make something big out of this. But the thing is, some of those booths did not need to be up there. And that's just the truth. Um, One of the other things too is the fact that with where some of these booths were located, I mean, how many times did we hear some of the people who were representatives of a particular vendor, or you hear the volunteers, on the bullhorns, keep moving along, don't bunch up in the crowd here, don't block the walk aisles, all that kind of stuff. it's a little hard to do that when all these booths are so close together, especially when the fact of where they're located, it's like they need to be in an area where they have more room to work. This is another reason why I say there's too many booths up there. Doesn't need to be that way. For example, some of the ones that they can definitely move out of there um, is booths like the 18 plus booth where they have the little curtain blocking everything around. Okay, booths like that, and also obviously every year they have a special place on the floor where you can buy actual bladed weapons, whether it be katanas or butterfly knives, shurikens, those kind of things, little daggers. They have an area where you can buy technically real weapons. Uh, that stuff doesn't need to be up there. Legitimately, it doesn't need to be up there. I feel those kinds of um, products and stuff, they need to be in their own physical room. So one of the rooms, like I said, this is where it dials back to when I stated that there was too many panels. Okay, some of those panels didn't need to be there. Some of those rooms could have been used for ones like that, like the 18 plus doesn't need to be on the exhibit floor. It's more of a private thing. Only a certain age limit can get in. So taking that into consideration, it should be in its own physical personal room. Another thing too, when it comes to the weapons themselves as well, the weapons should be in its own physical room. Not to mention the fact this makes it a much more controlled environment, because I know there's guys standing around making sure that nobody's trying to steal nothing, no one's trying to pocket something. But if you move it into a physical room, I mean, granted, I doubt anyone's really going to try to steal anyway, because even if they did steal and get caught, you can try to run out of there as much as fast as you like. But with all the different police and security, more than likely, 9 times out of 10, they're not getting away. And then you have the security that's at the check gates when people tag their badges to leave. You still got that security too. So realistically, you're not really going to get away. Um, but nonetheless, just to kind of add to an extra deterrent of thwarting people from wanting to even attempt to try, if you move those things into a physical room, you already know it's a much more controlled environment, as well as the fact that there's literally only one way in and one way out physically, as opposed to just they create a path to say, okay, this you have to come in through this way and you have to leave through that way. No, they don't need any kind of special signs to say anything. There's one way in, one way out. There is, and it's all through the same door. So there you go. So panels like that don't need to be up there. Also, not to mention the fact these kind of bleed into each other. The entertainment hall. The entertainment hall. I know there's a lot of people who love playing the card games. Okay, I'm not a card game guy, but regardless, I think they take up too much space. They can be scaled back just a little bit to open up more room for other vendors to set their booths up. But realistically, they take up too much space. Um, I know there's also tables where they have PC set up where people are playing different games and stuff. To a certain extent, even those kind of take up a little too much space. I think those can be dialed back a little bit too. Some of the panels that are up in the exhibit hall, for example, some that they can definitely move down into the entertainment hall would be like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the new fighting game they were featuring. Grand Blue Fantasy, the little setup with the screen and everything, that can get moved down there. Doesn't need to be there. And not to mention the fact those specialty anime themed decal supercars that they had showcased. Now in other anime expos, I remember when they had I think they had 8 of them, but they were all in the entertainment hall and they were all lined up across each other, kind of like how it would be set up if you were going to a car show. Those kinds of cars should have been showcased down there in that same setup, even if it was only I think there was only 3 cars in total. But nonetheless, they're taking up space. They did not need to be up there. They need to be down in the entertainment hall and just showcased down through there. If you remove those panels and those particular ones out of there, you have more room. Not to mention, booths can kind of shift themselves back in, and you can properly set up their booths in a way to where they actually have space to where they can comfortably have crowds sit in front, and it will not block the walkways, or at the very least it won't hardly block them to the point where people have to come out and say, hey, you guys need to move it along. You need to open up more space on the floor for the booths to breathe. There was no room to really breathe. I mean, it was barely enough room to even get around, especially when you're coming in through the entranceway. But that's just my take as far as certain things that they can definitely do. But yeah, pretty much anything where you have to be a certain age or so to purchase weapons or buy certain kinds of product, those things should be off the main showcase floor and just put in private. So if you want one, you go to this room. That's how I think it should be set up. I feel like there should be. I wish vendors would do more scavenger hunt games. I think those really they add a nice. How can I put it? It adds more fun and enticement when it comes to interacting with all the different things that are happening throughout the building. Plus, on top of that, with the scavenger hunts, it increases the incentive to want to walk the building. So that's the thing too. With scavenger hunts, you look forward to gaining that reward, whatever it happens to be. Um, I remember it was one particular Anime Expo. I can't remember which one, but there were like quite a few different scavenger hunts that were taking place. There was one scavenger hunt that was for Sailor Moon. There was another one for Attack on Titan. There was another one for Fate, and I think there were like two other ones too. Um, but they were all taking place, and take and taking on all of those different ones really made it fun because not only I'm not just walking the building aimlessly trying to see what to get into. I'm actually walking on a mission. So I might come across something that I might like, so I might take part in that, and then go back to what I was doing and continue my scavenger hunt. So it gave you a chance, especially for people who more likely probably didn't want to get involved in too much stuff, because let's face it, the building is huge, and some people really don't want to do all that walking around. Some people kind of want to stay in a particular area or will only go so far. But at the very least, this gives them the incentive to want to walk all the facets of the building and really take in the full on. Not only are they taking in the full on atmosphere, but they might come across something they didn't know was there, and they can take advantage of that, and then they can go back to the scavenger hunt. So then it's two birds with one stone. They're coming across new information, new content, new experience, and they're still completing a game, and they're going to get rewarded for that when they complete it. So I definitely think more scavenger hunts are definitely necessary when it comes to that. So hopefully vendors will find some creative way of bringing more scavenger hunts to the Anime Expo. This is a personal request of mine. Um, they need to bring back the punching machine. I know they had one for One Punch Man. I really love those machines. I really do. I was really, really looking forward to breaking my own personal record. I've gotten up to 916, and I was really looking forward to trying to get higher than that. That was just my own personal thing. But unfortunately, there wasn't one. So that was a bit of a downer. But I think the punching machine should be that kind of thing that definitely should come back every single year. I never see something like that just getting old or getting stale. Everybody loves testing their strength, or just to show, or for guys, they probably just want to show off to their girlfriends. Either way, it definitely gives a nice little challenge, and it's good just to see everybody just trying to get their hardest punch in and trying to get as high of a number as they possibly can. That's always fun. I always have a lot of fun watching people uh, try to hit, looking at their technique and everything else, because I do martial arts. So I look at all those little things like, oh, if you just pivoted just a little bit more. You could have got a little more power on it, that kind of thing. I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, I hope they bring back the punch machine. I really do. Um, what else we got here? Almost lost my place here. Oh, oh yeah, that I already talked about. Um, I think they should try to utilize more types of games. Like that's one of the things I really liked about Hypeland is the fact that they had quite a few games that were going on. Kind of almost carnival esque, but they could like vendors can really have fun with these kinds of things, especially if it's set up outside. Now granted there's a crazy amount of stuff happening outside, so it's really hard to really set up something like that without it impeding on something else, especially rather it might interfere with the lines or anything like that. But one of the types of games that I thought would be really cool would be like a Naruto speed race, and I even wrote down the rules and everything to this. But this okay, check this out. Okay, a Naruto speed race. Obviously, you can already see where this is going. It would be like maybe I don't know, maybe 15 yards. I don't know, maybe that's too much, maybe 10 yards, but it's just a speed dash. But of course, naturally, it's a Naruto speed race, so you have to run in the Naruto way. And basically it's one of those things where basically it's going to be the road to Hokage. And how it is you only get to race once per day. That is it. And if you happen to race all 4 days, what ends up happening is they're going to add up all the times that you accumulated. And I believe that Mount Rushmore esque type of thing that's in Lee Village, I believe they have like what, 7 heads up there. So the top 7 fastest people would be considered Hokage, and then they all get just this cool special limited edition prize based around the Naruto lore. I think that would be so freaking cool because I would totally take advantage of that. But I think that's just one of the types of games where they can really have fun with these kinds of events. That's why I wish there was more interaction when it comes to that, more stuff outside to utilize the outside atmosphere. So you're utilizing every piece of space that you got when it comes to everything surrounding the LA Convention Center. Um, and I think pretty much the last thing that I want to touch on is they really, really, and this is probably more of a personal request, but they really, really need to get rid of those bacon hot dog vendors. Get rid of them. I'm sorry. I don't like having them around there. The primary reason why, given the fact that I live in LA, I've already heard enough horror stories to know that the food tastes like absolute crap, total crap. Not to mention the fact having them there could potentially pose a health risk because of the simple fact not a single one of these vendors has a special utility set up to where they can wash their hands, clean their utensils, and things of that nature to maintain sanitary conditions. They have none of that. That is very, very, I don't want to use the word dangerous. That might be kind of blowing it out of proportion, but that's definitely not very healthy when it comes to food consumption. This is one of the reasons why they should never be allowed there. If now, granted, I would be more willing, per se, if they were serving this out of an actual truck, like the vendors. Then at the very least, they have a facility where they're actually keeping the food enclosed. There's not bugs that are flying around. There's not their stuff is they're maintained, they're keeping all their stuff clean and their hands are getting clean, and the food is properly stored in the refrigerator or whatever the case may be. You'll know that the food is being properly taken care of. Not to mention, potentially by them serving it out of a truck, the quality of the food might be better too. Might be better. But the thing about it is, we don't need them there. We already have a food court inside the building, and you've got vendor food trucks outside. There is absolutely zero reason for them to be there, and they need to just go somewhere else. I understand they want to make their money. The hustle is real. I get it, but at the end of the day, it's just a simple fact that that is a major health risk because there is nothing they're utilizing to keep anything sanitized or keep anything clean. They're sitting outside for hours and hours, and never once are they washing their hands or cleaning their utensils or scraping off the fat and the grease off of the trays that they're cooking it on. None of that. So taking all that in consideration, they don't need to be there. So other than that, that's pretty much all I got as far as my views and thoughts and different things where they can improve when it comes to Anime Expo and just the overall atmosphere. Oh, and also they need to improve the Wi-Fi. Okay, anyway, now I'm done. Even though that you technically have to pay for, which you shouldn't since it's a huge event like this and we're spending God knows how much, spending God knows how much money on everything else. So the Wi-Fi should be free, at least for the 4 days. Jeez. But but yeah, I think overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give Anime Expo. I'll still give it a strong 7 out of 10, only because I miss it. And it's kind of like I go there religiously now. I started going, I think, in 2015, maybe 2016, and I've been going all 4 days every single year from that point. So that's kind of like my personal me time right there. That's what I look forward to for every single year. And of course, naturally, you got LA Comic Con and the Game Awards and stuff like that. But and obviously E3 is, I think, starting to come back next year. So I'll definitely be taking part in E3 as well. But for the most part, yeah, I give it a solid 7. So let me know what you guys think about my thoughts and opinions on that. Let me know what you rank Anime Expo or even Anime Expo Lite. Um, and what kind of changes would you have liked to see made or like to see added or taken away when it comes to making it just the best experience it possibly can be? I know they're always doing surveys when it comes to your overall experience. How did you like it? And all this other stuff. So definitely let me know what you guys think down below. But other than that, this is your boy DeMar Playboy Dukes. I'm signing out. Hope you guys once again enjoyed yourselves. You guys stay safe out there. God bless. Love you all. Take care.